Everybody, I'm Lauren Coleman here alongside Monique Robinson, Stacey Spivey, and today we had Chad Silver on the floor with us.
I told Eric Chilton he could take the day off and I would come join you. It's been a while since I've been here.
It has been a while. We're happy to have you.
It's good to be back.
Yeah, that was so nice of you to do.
You know what? Sometimes you just got to give to others.
That's right. That's right. Well, thank you guys for watching the 4 to 5 right here on WFMY News 2, Fire Stick, Roku, and the News 2 app. Let's go ahead and get started this afternoon with your top headlines.
Yes, let's get into your 4 to 5 roundup. One Triad school district has a new superintendent. Today, Alamance-Burlington School System announced that Dr. Dain Butler is stepping into the role. He takes over for Bruce Benson and will officially start on July 1st. Gilbert County Schools is also on the hunt for a new superintendent. Dr. Sharon Contreras is leaving the role at the end of the year. GCS board members plan on giving an update on the position search at next Tuesday's meeting. And we have an update on an Amber Alert notification that you may have gotten on your phone this morning. Winston-Salem police say an overnight kidnapping investigation was faked. Officers say a caller claimed 17-year-old Jair Jr. Gaza Espinosa was abducted around 1 a.m. Police say the teen sent pictures and text messages to family members saying that he had been kidnapped and they needed to give the kidnappers money or else he would be killed. This morning around 8, police found him near the area he was reported missing. Police believe the teen made up the text messages. The Amber Alert was canceled and he was released into the custody of his mother. There are no charges at this time, but this case is still under investigation. Law enforcement say a teen driver is okay after crashing their car into a lake. Greensboro police say it happened this morning on Church Street due to distracted driving. 911 calls reveal the driver saw a spider in the car and then drove into Lake Townsend. Officers say the car went into the water, but the driver got out before it sank. The hazmat team responded to prevent oil and gas from contaminating the lake. This accident is under investigation. Well, it was good while it lasted. Gas prices across the Triad are up again. Gas Buddy says right now the average price in Greensboro is $3.95 per gallon. That's up 19.5 cents compared to last week. But it's not just the Triad dealing with the recent uptick. The national average topped $4.17 a gallon today. We'll be diving deeper into why gas prices are going up, coming up at 4:30.
Families are struggling with a baby formula shortage. Recalls and supply chain issues continue to make it a problem. According to Data Assembly, a data collection company, baby formula out of stock rates hit 31% in April. That means more than 30% of products were out of stock across more than 11,000 stores in the U.S. Doctors say there is a critical shortage for super specialized formulas for babies with allergies. I actually shared this video of my personal struggle finding my daughter's hypoallergenic formula lately. You can see just how badly it is affecting people with those shelves pretty empty. Well, many of you are reacting to the post. Tracy says, my daughter is having the same problem finding formula for her little one. Another Tracy adds, we are dealing with this for my grandbaby. They can't find his formula and it is so scary. And Sarah writes, it's so bad and stressful. With many parents desperate to feed their babies, I've seen this Facebook post being shared with a recipe for a homemade baby formula. It's a mixture of evaporated milk, purified water, light Karo syrup, and liquid infant vitamins. But is it safe to use? Let's verify. So our sources for this are the American Academy of Pediatrics and the U.S. Food and Drug Administration, and Katina Little, a pediatric nurse practitioner with Novant Health. The AAP warns parents not to feed homemade formula to infants. It might contain too many or not enough nutrients, and it can put babies at risk of getting sick. The FDA also advises parents to not give babies homemade infant formula because of serious health and safety concerns, including contamination, nutritional imbalances, and foodborne illnesses. The FDA does not regulate all commercially available infant formulas, but does not regulate recipes for homemade formulas. Little agrees.
It is not safe to make your own formula. There are several reasons that go along with that. One of the biggest is just the risk factor of not mixing it correctly.
Little says if it's not mixed the right way, babies could be given too much or too little of something. She says this could cause problems with brain development, weight gain, and digestion, along with many other things.
this too will pass, and we will get to a point where we have enough. So the resources that you can tap into will hold you over until you can get it. But I want to say, just don't think, you have to resort to making it on your own or creating it on your own.
She suggests if you're having trouble finding formula, reach out to your pediatrician's office, WIC, or a lactation consultant. So we can verify, no, it is not safe to feed your baby homemade formula. And if you have something that you want us to verify, just send us an email at verify@wfny.com.
A new report shows cardiovascular disease as the leading cause of death for pregnant women. A local health system hopes to combat that statistic. Cone Health is opening a clinic this month focused on heart health. It'll be at the Med Center for Women in Greensboro. The clinic will offer medical care specifically for women who have cardiovascular disease and are considering pregnancy. It'll also offer treatment and counseling.
It's actually also looking at what is the problem on the social level with this woman, looking at what we call the social determinant of health, and identifying needs like, are you able to afford your medicines, and are you able to make transportation to your visits? What are the barriers that are stopping you from becoming healthy and carrying you through a healthy pregnancy?
Providers will treat patients throughout their pregnancy and check up after the baby is born. The clinic opens next Friday. Hey, were you able to get out and enjoy some of the beautiful weather here on this Monday? Here's a live look right now over the Triad. Sounds like storms will be returning soon here, Monique.
Yes, yesterday was such an active day in the weather center, but today is much drier. But as we look ahead to this upcoming week, there are more active days in store. Today was quite warm. We reached a high of 83 in Greensboro, 84 in Winston-Salem, 85 down in Lexington. A lot of 80s for your day, and that's simply because we're so dry and the cloud cover not really there, so the sun really baking up the atmosphere. When we look across the nation, there are some cooler spots. Kansas City at 57, and what you're seeing right here is a boundary that's in place and producing very active weather for central portions of the United States. I mean, look here, we're seeing multiple severe thunderstorm warnings as well as snow. I'm zooming in a little bit closer. Quite active weather across Kansas, Nebraska, Oklahoma, Missouri. So we're not seeing that here, but as we go through this week, the active weather will return once again. The radar is expected to be busy because another cold front, another warm front, another cold front, all come into the Triad, and all of those weather features produce weather, and some of which could be severe. And the timing of it as early as tomorrow. I'll talk more about it coming up.
A storm is already brewing in Raleigh. The ice is prepped also there. Tonight kicks off the start of the NHL playoffs for the Carolina Hurricanes. They're taking on the Boston Bruins at PNC Arena. WFMY News 2's Jalen Gilkey is there today. Jalen, really exciting week for Canes fans.
You're absolutely right, Chad. And if you ask most sports fans, they'll tell you playoff hockey is the most exciting time in all of sports. The energy is just off the charts. And guess what? Today at 7 p.m., the Canes take on the Boston Bruins in the round one, their first playoff matchup. And as for the guys, they're ready to make a real push for Lord Stanley's Cup, but fifth-year head coach Rod Brindamore says they just have to take it one game at a time.
It's a mental wear and tear. I think physically there are going to be bumps and bruises and all that, but it's just a mental fatigue that you go through. And I think that the good teams and the good players find a way to just rise up every night and play. And I think that's why I referred to this group, that, I mean, there really wasn't any letdown all year. And so now I think everyone gets refreshed because it's an exciting time, and then it's going to be another grueling grind.
Your 45, we'll be right back after this quick break. We're clear, yeah. We're good, no worries.
Right now, the world of country music is mourning the loss of singer and TV star Naomi Judd. Her family says she died Saturday from the disease of mental illness. News of Judd's death came just one day before she entered the Country Music Hall of Fame. Her daughter says she was supposed to be there to accept the honor in person.
Love can build a bridge.
Naomi Judd was inducted into the Country Music Hall of Fame posthumously Sunday night, along with her daughter, Winona, as the Judds.
I didn't prepare anything tonight because I knew Mom would probably talk the most.
Her daughters, Winona and Ashley, came together to pay tribute.
My mama loved you so much, and she appreciated your love for her. And I'm sorry that she couldn't hang on until today.
This is the first time I've talked since saying goodbye. I feel so blessed, and it's a very strange dynamic to be this broken and this blessed.
The mother-daughter duo shared the stage less than a month ago at the CMT Music Awards, their first time singing together at an award show in more than 20 years. It would also be their last.
Love and only love can join the tribes of man.
All told, the Judds sold more than 20 million records, winning 5 Grammys in the process.
Love is alive and at our breakfast table every day.
Naomi Judd was candid about her health problems. She said a hepatitis C diagnosis forced her to stop performing in 1991.
Not being able to perform messed it so bad. I had panic attacks, was put on all kinds of medication.
She later returned to the stage after being told she was free of the virus. But in her 2016 memoir, River of Time, she also revealed her struggle with severe depression and her trauma from childhood sexual abuse. The Judds had just announced a final tour that was due to begin in September.
Though my heart's broken, I will continue to sing, because that's what we do.
Anthony Mason, CBS News.
Wow, such an emotional day for that family. You know, the fact that she passed the day before she was being inducted into the Hall of Fame. I mean, that type of day is supposed to be a joyous occasion, and, you know, it comes just hours after she passed. So, I mean, boy, just had to been a very tough day.
Yeah, I mean, I remember growing up listening to the Judds singing, and they're so talented and so beautiful. All 3 of them, right? But it's so hard to like think about everything that she's been through, but she is going to leave behind a pretty amazing legacy.
And like what we learned, her family saying she died of a mental health illness. You know, May is Mental Health Awareness Month, and it just goes to show there's no face to mental health. It could be a celebrity, it could be you and I, it could be anyone out there, and that there are resources out there for those who might be struggling with, you know, those kind of problems.
Yeah, and if you are struggling, all you have to do is just, I mean, you can just type in Google and there's somebody that can be out there to help you, and don't feel afraid to talk to someone, whether it's a professional or even a family member. Well, Coach Lamont's message today ties into this topic. Just listen as he challenges us to think about how we deal with struggles and a common way we sometimes avoid them.
I used to think as long as I was busy, I didn't have to feel any mental or emotional pain from my past. I was coping by remaining distracted. Distractions have a way of pressing down pain because we are not ready to face that pain. This could be the reason why many of us sometimes constantly are on the run, going from one thing to the next, because the moment we stop, we are reminded of the experience, and we are all so exhausted to face at times. Now is the time to end distractions and start the healing process. The longer you press down your pain without facing it, the longer you rob yourself of the opportunity of walking in the newness of life. It's time to let the healing process begin. This is Coach Lamont. Make today your best you day. I'll see you tomorrow.
That is a really good message there. I think a lot of us tend to compartmentalize certain problems, whether they're past traumas or just certain issues, but they do start to seep through in your life in other ways. So at some point we do have to deal with those problems, or you're gonna just get overwhelmed and they'll come out in the wrong situation.
I think oftentimes, right, we usually distract ourselves to keep from healing because we don't want to think about it. And so we're like, okay, I'm just going to stay busy and do this, 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 and this, and make plans for every weekend. So I don't have time to sit down and actually think about what happened or what's going on in my life to become better from it.
Maybe a trip to the mountains, a trip to the beach where you can just kind of
sit there,
just disconnect,
right,
and deal with things. I mean, I have family members, thinking of one in particular that stays busy on every kind of committee that you can think of, but it's just so they can fill certain voids. And you could get to a point where you might feel burnt out because you're doing so many different things.
Well, it's going to catch up to you.
Yeah, addressing, you know, what's bothering you.
Yeah. Even though you don't want to face it, sometimes you kind of have to.
Right. Otherwise, it'll compound and get worse, and
it just gets bigger and bigger, and then you just have a big breakdown, and it's not a good thing.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, we'll be right back.
Although it is nice today, we are not in the clear from severe weather as we go through this week. In fact, the Storm Prediction Center puts most of us across the central Piedmont under a marginal risk that's level 1 for severe weather as we go through the day tomorrow. So let's take a look at the futurecast to see when should we be on alert. Now, as we go through the rest of tonight, things are remaining dry. We should get a few clouds here and there through the day to start on Tuesday, but around the afternoon, I would say after 1 p.m. and continuing through the early evening, there is a chance for storms to develop across the area, with wind and hail being the primary severe weather threats as of now that we're looking at with any storms that do develop on the day tomorrow. So we're looking at scattered storms, not everyone getting to see storms tomorrow. A very similar story as what we had this past weekend. When we say scattered, it really just means popping up in some locations across the area. But when they do, they could be severe. And you can see this is Wednesday afternoon, another case of some storms across the area. So this is a look at an hour by hour look through your Tuesday. You can see the temperatures warming up. In fact, I think some folks may be in the upper 80s, making for another warm day. By the afternoon, though, that's when that strong to severe storm potential becomes more likely. And again, we talk about wind and hail being the primary two severe weather threats for your day tomorrow. Haven't shown the 7-day yet, but here are the numbers as we go through the next couple of days. It is going to be a cooler weekend, but just notice how every single day features a rain chance. Some days drier than others, but we should be on the lookout for the radar. So make sure to have that WFMY News 2 app downloaded so you can be weather aware always.
I'd like you to imagine holding a baby so small that it could fit in the palm of your hand. That was the size of Amari Jones, born 4 months early. Doctors say he was roughly the size of a smartphone. He weighed just 15 ounces and had a 10% chance of survival.
It was so low that his doctors counted him out before they even knew his the chances. Like, all the doctor kept saying was, we'll just see, we'll see. And I was like, no, he's gonna make it. And the doctor was like, I can't guarantee you that.
But God had a different plan. Today, Amari is thriving. He's in kindergarten and loves to learn and play, but he does face some challenges.
Amari's still considered delayed, so we have to just make sure that he understands, like, you may be delayed, but you will definitely continue to do what you're going to do. Like, you can be whatever you want to be, regardless how long it takes you to get there.
Well, from Miracle Baby to one of North Carolina's only micro preemies to survive. See how he's doing tonight on WFMY News 2 at 11. We'll be right back.
Well, you know the saying, new year, new me. Well, the same idea can also apply to a new month. The flip of the calendar often ushers in new goals, opportunities, and celebrations.
Yeah, maybe you're thinking about getting out more, expanding your social circle, or taking on a new hobby. Whatever it is, we want to know what you've planned for May.
Nadine has similar goals. She said she'd like to exercise more, increase her prayer, and stop watching so much TV.
Dewey says he'd like to relax more and make people laugh. And Victoria says she'd like to focus more on self-care and enjoying life. She also says she'd like to save a little more money and stick to budget goals. That's a big one, budget goals. I think I set that as one of my New Year's resolutions every year, but it's so hard to stick to.
And for me, like I don't think like the budget is. I think the budget is a problem for just about everybody.
Yeah.
And if it's for me, it's like if it's out of sight, it's out of mind. Like I know that my credit card company will offer me the ability to see how much money I've spent at restaurants and on frivolous things, but I don't want to see it.
No.
Yeah.
I don't want to know.
I just get anxious every time I swipe.
Right. I've been trying to think of something that I just like have a goal of doing. I think it's just like taking the time to soak in and like enjoy it every day instead of like, sometimes I get caught up in like what's going to happen in the future, what's happening even next week, and I think just like living in the moment. Maybe that could be my goal for May.
I have a similar one for May. Mine more so just pouring into myself and exploring different parts of North Carolina, finding a festival to go to on the weekend, finding a different activity to do, and hopefully by getting out and about like this, I can find a hobby and something that I like that I could stick with. So
For me, every month it's more of a reflection than it is a look ahead. Every month, I tear my desk calendar off to take away the month and to start a new one. But I always look to see what are the things that were written on it. What did I do this last month that made my life better? What are things that I did that maybe needed to be improved on? So it's more of a reflection for me when it comes to a month to month.
I like that.
Makes me think I gotta switch my calendar to May.
Yeah, you do. Yeah.
I need to do that.
We'll be right back.
Yes, let me get myself together and get myself in there. How about that? How about that? George Harrison.
What did you do? For the two of them? Oh, nice. Good. So basically, you're doing the, hey, like this is the story of them while I'm doing their vows kind of thing, and I'm going to make everybody laugh and cry and whatever. Yes. This could be your new like for real side gig.
Good afternoon. Welcome back to the 4 to 5. I'm Stacey Spivey here with Lauren Coleman and Monique Robinson. And look who's joining us today, Chad Silver.
On a Monday, here with you. I'm glad to be here. I'm glad you welcomed me back.
To have you.
Thank you.
Anytime, anytime. And thanks for joining us, whether you're watching at home, Fire Stick, Roku, or the WFNY News 2 app. So many ways to watch us.
All right, let's get started with an update we can all relate to: gas prices. Over the last few weeks, we have witnessed a steady decline in prices, but now it seems that has come to an end.
Gas Buddy says right now the average price in Greensboro is $3.95 per gallon. That's up about 19 cents compared to last week.
And today's prices are 3 cents higher than a month ago. Prices are actually going up everywhere. The national average topped $4.17 today.
A big question for drivers is why we've seen gas prices go up and back down the last few weeks. So what's driving this latest price hike? Todd McFall is an assistant teaching professor in the Department of Economics at Wake Forest University. He says the Russia-Ukraine war is still one of the main factors driving up gas prices.
People are trying to figure out how they can reorganize their life to use less gasoline. And yet supply still is tight. With Russia not being able to supply like they normally are, like countries not willing to purchase gasoline from Russia in the way that we have in the past, it'll continue to be expensive in the foreseeable future. As long as this conflict in Eastern Europe continues, we'll see expensive gas.
McFall says gas prices also typically go up during the summer travel months with COVID restrictions loosening and more people feeling comfortable traveling. He says prices will continue to rise.
Labor markets are red hot and people have money in their pocket. And if they're like my family, they haven't been doing a whole lot over the last couple of years and they might feel a little safer doing that. They want to get out there and do stuff. And so with that money, they can afford to travel right now. And that'll keep demand high and it'll keep supply tight. And those are going to be two things that lead to higher prices.
Again, McFall says gas prices will remain high for the foreseeable future. And he suggests folks try their best to look at their personal budget and see where they can save a few bucks here and there to cover gas costs.
Yeah,
that was my safe feeling yesterday when I went to get gas. I went to the Sheets off of Wendover, $3.99 a gallon.
Yeah.
Yep, and fortunately I don't have one of those big trucks, you know. I mean, sometimes people will send pictures or post pictures on social media of how it costs them $120 to fill up.
Yeah.
So I'm glad I've got something that's smaller and more economical, especially right now.
But it's still tough, even though it's the smaller cars. I mean, some of these prices, I mean, a couple years ago, we wouldn't have even thought they would be that high.
Right. Yeah. When we drove out of town this weekend to Roanoke to visit my in-laws and just to fill up, going there was not fun to see the price tag of that. But I remember talking to Patrick DeHaan with Gas Buddy earlier this year when we first started seeing prices hike, and he said really he doesn't foresee this changing until probably the end of the year. We still have a way to go.
I'm glad I don't have one of those long commutes, right? Some people have to commute a long way and they drive big trucks and yeah.
I'm considering a bicycle. Is it getting warmer?
Really?
Yeah.
There you go.
Okay, or a Lime bike. Just get on one of the Lime bikes, right? Ride that around.
That might be a little faster.
All right.
All right, so Two wants to know, we're listening to you, Lauren and Chad and Stacy. So this is what we're looking at for you. Credit cards issued by a gas station or an oil company, right? To find out if they are actually worth it. You know, those cash back rewards. Do any of you have a card that gives you cash back for your gas purchases?
Nope.
No,
I don't
have
what?
No.
Does Harris Teeter count with the
That's
fuel
what I was
points?
saying, like the VIP.
That's the only thing
No,
I can think of.
I mean that is a card, but not like a credit card that gives you cash back. Okay, well, interesting, friends. I have a Costco card. I use it 90% of the time for simply gas alone. Consumer Reports says if you have a membership card, usually those cards come with a cap. For example, like 5% cash back up to like, let's say $500. If you do a lot of driving and you think you're going to reach that kind of card cap, consider using that card only to buy your gas, nothing else, just so that you make sure you get that cash back. All right, so what about the gas cards that are affiliated with a specific station or a specific company? Consumer Reports says before you sign on, check out what the reward really does for you.
Many gas cards pay you back a few cents per gallon of gas, like 5 cents or 10 cents, rather than a percentage of your purchase. So when gas prices are moving up from $3 to $4 or $5, that benefit is worth a lot less.
All right, so what you want to look for is a card linked to a gas brand or linked to just a credit card with no annual fee that offers rewards like that percentage, like she was talking about, the 5% cash back. One example is the Citi Custom Cash Card, which gives you 5% cash back on your top spending category every billing cycle for up to $500 in purchases. And that, of course, includes gas.
Some of the rise in prices is an effect of the ongoing war in Ukraine. Right now, the country is evacuating a steel plant in Mariupol where people inside have been taking cover and haven't seen daylight in weeks. Today, House Speaker Nancy Pelosi and other members of Congress met in Poland to thank the country for its support. The U.S. says its support will not waver despite the increase of Russian attacks and is working on sending a $33 billion aid package to Ukraine. Right now, Muslims across the globe are celebrating Eid al-Fitr, which marks the end of Ramadan. The Islamic holiday is observed with prayer, big meals, and new clothes. However, some Muslim families in Russia were forced to make adjustments to their dinner because of economic sanctions. They say the cutoffs are fueling a rise in food prices and shortages. But despite the hardships, they remain hopeful and say they are using the time to pray for peace and a better economic situation across the country.
Here at home, nursing professors are connecting with nurses in Europe to help take care of Ukrainian refugees. UNCG launched a partnership with nurses in Moldova about 2 months ago. At the time, they were helping the nurses with care of about 200,000 refugees. Since then, that number has jumped to more than 400,000.
There are some government set up refugee centers, but those will only hold about 6,000 people. And with hundreds of thousands of refugees coming in and through the country, that means that most of the people we work with have opened their homes to refugees. And so a part of this is also them being able to provide emotional support for people who have been significantly traumatized in this process and who are living with them.
UNCG says they are working with the Guilford County Rotary Club to collect funds to get supplies out. If you'd like to donate, just look for the story on WFMYnews2.com. The city of Greensboro is also collecting donations for Ukraine. Now through May 23rd, you can drop off essential toiletries at these boxes around the city. Things needed include diapers, baby wipes, bar soap, toothbrushes, and toothpaste.
You can also help your neighbors who are struggling with finding food. Tomorrow, more than 75 restaurants across Guilford County are taking part in an event called Serving Greensboro Together. When you eat at these establishments, a portion of the sales will go to support Potter's House Community Kitchen, which is operated by Greensboro Urban Ministry.
Tomorrow is also the start of a series of free outdoor fitness classes in Greensboro. The YMCA of Greensboro is hosting the sessions in the downtown Greenway. The classes are in Moorhead Park at 475 Spring Garden Street. If you can't make it out tonight, no worries. Sessions are held every Tuesday night from 6 to 7 through September. Classes include Zumba, power yoga, and functional strength workouts.
And depending on the time of the day that you're outside working out, you might break quite a bit of sweat, especially right now during the afternoon hours. Monique, it's beautiful out there, but definitely a warm one.
It's not only warm though, it also is kind of humid when you walk outside. We've been feeling it all weekend long. Now, with the temperatures being warmer and things not really going on the radar, I just want to show you a little bit of a science lesson here. This upward part what you're seeing here is called a ridge. This is a look at the winds way high up in the atmosphere. Now, whenever we see this trough pattern, which is more of a dip down shape that we're seeing that's going to be making its way closer towards us towards the weekend, that dip down shape kind of sets itself up for sending a cold front here across our area. You can see this trough really digs down. So we're talking maybe a really strong severe weather threat as we end out the week and going into the weekend, but we're going to continuously keep a close eye on it. As of now, a boundary not too far away, nothing directly impacting us. That's what's keeping us dry and quiet. But as we go through the day tomorrow, we're going to be in what's called the warm sector, which means we get warm temperatures and that dew point increases, which means it feels even muggier when you walk outside. We're feeling that for tomorrow. Those are also the perfect ingredients for some storms to develop, and that's why we're keeping that in the forecast for your Tuesday afternoon. Cold front not too far away crosses on Wednesday. Ahead of that, we get another potential for some showers and storms. Talked about the dew points. We are riding around those 60s. In the summertime, those dew points are in the 70s. That's when you walk outside and it feels sticky. It kind of feels like you're just ready to sweat as soon as you head out the door, like a sauna. We're getting near that for at times this week, especially when that front crosses on Wednesday and then again as we head into the weekend. So it's feeling a little bit more muggy when you head out the door. So not only warm, but muggy. And we're going to continuously feel that trend as we're also looking at rain chances for this 7-day. Talking more about it coming up.
Hey, and the weather is perfect for strawberry season. Of course, if it's not raining, there are several places in our area where you can pick them yourself. Just text the word berry to 336-379-5775, and we will respond with a link to the list of local strawberry farms. We'll be right back.
In honor of Mental Health Awareness Month, the Child Mind Institute launched the Dare to Share campaign.
It's part of an effort to encourage kids to talk about their own mental health issues. CBS's Wendy Gillette shows the creative way professionals are getting kids to open up.
In my early 20s, I used to get pretty awful panic attacks.
Grammy winner Pink is part of a new campaign aimed at children to help destigmatize mental health issues.
Just telling someone about it made me feel better.
According to the CDC, ADHD, anxiety, depression, and behavior problems are the most commonly diagnosed mental health disorders in children. Among U.S. children aged 12 to 17, 1 in 5 had experienced a major depressive episode.
We want to monitor to make sure that they're functioning, right? So if it goes on for, say, 2 weeks of a child being consistently sad and down and not interested in things they used to enjoy, then we might think, oh, this is starting to seem like a depressive episode and not just a momentary setback.
Jamie Howard is a senior clinical psychologist from the Child Mind Institute. She says when talking to children about mental health, parents shouldn't jump in with solutions. They should ask open-ended questions and continue checking in.
With empathy and earnestness, ask, so tell me what's going on. I've noticed you haven't been spending time with your friends lately, or I've noticed your grades seem to be slipping. And don't jump to sort of reprimanding them, but say, what's going on?
Mental health experts also say parents shouldn't be afraid to broach the topic of suicide with their kids, since it is a leading cause of death among teenagers.
If someone is not suicidal and you say to them, hey, have you been thinking about killing yourself? They will not think, oh, no, I wasn't, but now I am. That's not how that works.
Half of mental health disorders begin before age 14. So experts say start conversations early.
I'm so glad that we ran this. I think it's so important. My husband used to be a teacher, and it's really sad to think about the number of students that he knew that committed suicide. And we're talking about middle schoolers. I think this is an issue. I think social media has to do with it. But I think it's so important that parents know how to approach their kids and talk to them about it. I do think that this generation that's growing up is more comfortable talking about their mental health, which I think is a good thing.
And I think conversation is so important, like having dinner table discussions, just checking in with your kids, like, how was your day? How are you really doing? Because there's a lot of stuff that can happen at school that parents just might not be aware of, that might be weighing on their kids. And in turn with that, when it comes to teachers, there could be stuff happening at home that kids could be struggling with. So I think just really checking in on students or checking in on your children can go a long way.
And a couple of years ago, I did a story back when I lived in Wilmington where a lot of the younger children, a lot of the conversations their parents were having, they didn't realize that that was actually weighing on the children. So when the parents were talking about finances or just their personal health, the kids were going to school and now they're like, yeah, I can't get this because mommy was talking about, you know, finances with that, not in that capacity, but, you know, mommy was talking about this, so I can't do that. So I think also just being mindful of what conversations you're around your younger children, especially, because that can impact their mental health.
Also, with arguments and different things like that, I think a lot of times we don't give children enough credit. They see what's going on, they hear what's going on, and it weighs on them too. So I think it's just so important for us to remember that they're there and really talk to them. You know, not talk at them, but ask them, you know, is everything good? And create that space where they feel comfortable coming to you if there is a problem that they're dealing with.
I think it's also important that we remember that right now it is so difficult to be a child because of the pandemic and how it has changed so much of their normal life. I mean, granted, we are past the worst part of the pandemic, but think about how the last couple of years have been for all of these kids who went through just drastic differences and things that none of us ever went through at that age.
They were able to play with their friends one day and then were locked inside the house with their family behind a computer the next. So it was a major change.
I heard of a lot of students who didn't go immediately from high school to college. A lot of them took a break to just figure out what they want to do with their lives because they were behind a screen. They didn't get to have their prom. They didn't get to have a lot of those social interactions. So they're just taking a break to just figure out what they want to do next with their life.
I don't think that's a bad idea at all.
I'm just glad we're talking about mental health more. It's an important topic. It's not taboo. It's something that we should talk about more often.
I agree. We'll be right back.
With winds out of the south and west and more sun than clouds, these temperatures staying warm for this afternoon. We're actually very unseasonable. In fact, temperatures roughly 8 degrees to even 10 above where they should be for this time of year. 83 right now in Greensboro, 82 down in Asheboro, 84 in Burlington, whole bunch of 80s on the map. Now, as we look at the dew points, I talked about how it feels a little sticky when you walk outside. We're seeing dew points in the 60s. 50s aren't too shabby, but the 60s, when they're in that range, it kind of just does feel sticky outside. So that's why it may feel even a little bit warmer than what those temperatures read. Now, as we go through the day tomorrow, keeping a lookout on the radar for the potential for some storms for the latter part of your Tuesday, kind of after lunchtime. That's when we really need to have a close eye on the radar, as the ingredients are perfect for storm development. Not everyone will get to see them, as we're talking scattered storms, but they are in the forecast. So keeping a close eye on that as temperatures warm up, and then we're looking at strong storms for the latter part of the day. So staying dry for the rest of your Monday, and then Tuesday, late day, looking at showers again, even more storms possible on Wednesday. Things a little bit drier for your Thursday, but another round of it on Friday, and again for the weekend. So a lot of rain chances in this 7-day, but scattered, meaning not everyone will get to see the rain, but we do have it in the forecast. So first time tomorrow afternoon, that's when we're looking at the radar. Again on Wednesday, things drier Thursday, and once again back on the radar Friday.
With gas prices on the rise and summer right around the corner, I asked you on my Facebook page, where is your favorite quick weekend getaway in North Carolina? Molly Tuttle says Carolina Beach and Southport. I always do the ferry ride so I can get to see both. Sean Brookins says Asheville or Boone in the Blue Ridge Parkway. Sophia George wrote Emerald Isle. Justice King says Biltmore Estate or Lakeview at Fontana. And Stephen Burton says Outer Banks. I like many of those places that were listed, especially Asheville. I went back in January and I went to the Biltmore Estate, but I want to go in the spring or summer when it's a little bit warmer to see how things are out there.
Right. What about you?
Well, typically like a quick trip for the weekend, we like Smith Mountain Lake in Virginia because it's so close to where we are. It's such a beautiful lake. But I'm always going to choose something with water, so the beach for sure.
Do you remember it was the first month of the pandemic, and this was when you weren't even allowed to be around loved ones, basically, right? Like people were freaking out about this. I did the beach and the mountains in the same weekend, just by myself.
Wow.
I've never taken a vacation by myself before, and I drove all the way to Asheville, spent a night there. The next day, drove to Carolina Beach.
Did you really?
5.5 hours, spent a night in Carolina Beach, and then drove back to Greensboro. So it was, a lot of time to reflect, a lot of miles on the car, but really just, it's a great vacation.
I love a one-on-one trip. Those are always sometimes some of the best, just to relax in a different spot outside of your house.
Yep, absolutely. And since we're talking about mental health, it's good for your mental health, right?
It really is. My 2 cents is next. We'll be right back. Scary.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Hey y'all, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Hi there, Illinois, Indiana, Iowa, Kansas, Kentucky, Louisiana.
Hello, mic check 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Check, check, check.
Is the correct way?
Mic check 1, 2, 3. Callie, am I the first one on the touch or someone before me? Okay.
Send us a mean email at Manning because I will fight them. Mic check 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Mic check. Thank you.
Inside of PNC Arena. Playoff hockey is back inside of PNC Arena once again, and your Canes finished
time for my 2 cents. 10 months. That's how old my daughter Baylor is now. She's babbling, trying new foods, and walking with some assistance. Good job. Lately, my husband Jake and I have felt comfortable enough to leave her for a few hours to have some date nights. A couple weeks ago, we went to the Elton John concert. This weekend, we were able to escape for a few hours to have dinner alone. Shout out to my in-laws for watching her. It was so much fun to have some time together without worrying about diaper changes, feeding schedules, or bedtime. We obviously love Baylor so much and spend the majority of our date nights talking about her. But as we do our best in raising our child, we also need to put work and effort into our marriage. I think having some time away is so important for new parents. When you're in the thick of it, the focus is on the baby, as it should be. But I think you've got to take some time to also focus on your partner. Parenting is hard, and you deserve a break every now and then. Moms and dads, remember, you were a couple first. A loving foundation can only help a loving family flourish. That's just my 2 cents. That's your 4 to 5. WFMY News 2 at 5 starts right now.
Winston-Salem police say an overnight kidnapping that resulted in an Amber Alert was fake.
It started around 1 this morning when police received a call that someone kidnapped 17-year-old Jair Jr. Gasca Espinoza.
WFMY News 2's Jenna